Oh my god, do they have their dragon energy? They could potentially use Berserk here if they do. They do. They've got dragon energy. They're going to be able to use Berserk. That 10 damage coming back to bite this lightning player. Hello everyone, Callie here. Today I'm bringing you another exciting GLC game. This time it's going to be Dragon versus Lightning. Lightning Sprite is actually one of my favorite archetypes in GLC, and I'm excited to see if our Lightning player can withstand these powerful dragons. All of the games that I cast are filmed at Gubu Hobby, where I run a weekly GLC league. If you happen to be in the Metro Atlanta area, come check us out on Saturdays. And if you like the content, please be sure you give it a like, subscribe, and definitely leave a comment down below. That said, let's get into the game. Welcome back to another Gym Leader Challenge game. Today we've got Fighting versus Dragon. Wait, what am I talking about? This is not Fighting versus Dragon, this is Fighting versus Lightning. So yeah, we got Dragon versus Lightning. I really have no idea what I'm talking about. Totally forgetting what game that I loaded up here. But we'll get going in just a moment. Players, give the fist bump. Again, Dragon versus Lightning. Tatsugiri in the active for our Dragon player with Blitzel for our Lightning player. Lightning going first, getting down that Zapdos and a Nest Ball. Going to be able to help them set up their bench. Debating that Mareep. We'll likely want to double check what other Pokemon they've got in the deck first. Checking to make sure they've got all of their Pokemon that they're going to potentially want. Looks like it's going to be a spread deck. Got that very powerful Electivire, Raichu, all the typical pieces you'll see in a spread deck. Our player really just wanting to double check which Pokemon they've got, which ones they're missing. Seems like most of the Pokemon that they would want are available. Mareep, ultimately the choice. Mareep has a pretty decent ability in and of itself with that fluffy pillow. Allows you to leave your opponent's Pokemon asleep. Sleep is not the most powerful ability or status condition. Basically, every Pokemon checkup, your opponent flips a coin. They get heads, they wake up. Tails, they will stay asleep. But hey, it's a free ability, why not? But it's really that Mareep, the Flaffy that you're playing it for. Dynamotor lets you get an electric energy back from the discard. Buddy Poffin going down for our fighting player. Why do I keep calling them fighting? They're a dragon player. For some reason, I'm just looking at that little fish and thinking he's a little fighter. But Buddy Poffin again, gonna let them grab some of their Pokemon. Dragon does need to set up early, so Buddy Poffin, a great opening play. I mean, honestly, that's what you want to see with any deck that's running Buddy Poffin, is that in your opening hand. Want to get that setup going sooner rather than later. Gibble and probably either Dreepy or Dratini will be the choices. Looks like Dreepy is the choice. Might be because some part of that evolution line is prized. Dreepy evolves into the powerful Dracoloak. While not powerful as an attacker, does have a very nice ability, helps your consistency as a deck. It lets you look at the top two cards of your deck. You put one of those in your hand, the other one in the bottom. So you do retain both resources while increasing your hand size. Very reminiscent of the old Pidgeotto with Airmail. Gibble lets you evolve into the very powerful Dragonite, or not Dragonite, just calling everything the wrong thing tonight. Lets you go into Gabite, which has Dragon Call, which lets you find a dragon each turn, and then also a very powerful Garchomp, most likely the Sonic Slip version. Getting this attract customers, going to look at the top 6 and find a supporter. Always love to see a start with Tatsugiri, especially when you're going second. Completely whiffs, though. Doesn't find anything with attracts customers. Kind of surprising. Either there wasn't a card that they wanted from there, or there just weren't any supporters. Bad luck for our Dragon player. They had the ideal start, but so far their luck is maybe running out with just having that Buddy Poffin in their hand. Does look like they've got that league stamp Buddy Poffin. Those were given out for a short time if you go to your local league. One reason to be able to that you might want to stop by your local league is sometimes you can get cool goodies that you can't get anywhere else. See if our dragon player has anything else that they can do this turn. They were able to set up a decent bench, but other than that, if they do pass here, it won't have been the best turn. Hopefully for them, they're able to play some kind of supporter. Again, they didn't find one off attract customers, but they might already have another one in their hand. It does seem like they are debating something. Do have a fighting energy that they're putting down on their own Regidrago. Regidrago not often used as an attacker, but hey, I mean, Giant Fangs does 160 damage. That's a lot of damage. It's just that 3 energy cost is really the only downside. It's like our electric player has a very fancy earthen vessel. Going to discard that Raichu and find 2 energies. Looks like our lightning player has a very fancy deck. Many gold cards, lots of shiny going on. Playing with gold. Here comes Zapdos. That's going to give our lightning player the option to potentially retreat this Blitzel and then take a KO with Zapdos. Zapdos does 80 damage when it moves from the bench to the active during your turn. Ultra Ball also going down to be able to find that Blitzel and use Sprint. Sprint lets you discard your hand and draw a new 4 cards. Great consistency card for Lightning. Lightning doesn't have a lot of draw support, so this can be, again, a good way to churn through your deck and find the pieces that you need. One of the nice things, too, about this retreat is since it is a recycle energy, it will go back to our player's hand. So they're going to use Sprint after evolving into Flaffy. They're going to draw 4 cards, just double checking if their opponent wanted to cut before they draw. Or no, they had forgotten to shuffle first. That's fine. Not a big deal there. Since they hadn't done the shuffle yet, it doesn't really matter too much that they saw those cards. Oh, I'm sorry. They're playing the Cynthia first. I thought they were playing Sprint, so that's why they needed to shuffle. Quick Ball going down. Gonna let them find another basic. Gonna have to discard the Iono to do that. Gonna get the Electabuzz. Wanting to definitely get into that Electivire sooner rather than later. I absolutely love that Electivire. So for 3 energies, it can do 50 damage to all of your opponent's Pokemon, which is kind of crazy, in a format where, 150 HP is generally considered a lot of HP. And what makes it even better is since you are playing a spread deck and you're usually just wanting to set up KOs, you're usually playing from behind. So you can use things like Reversal Energy, which when you have an evolved Pokemon, first though, does do that retreat. The Recycle Energy going back to hand, Zapdos taking the KO. Tatsuguri goes down. Did not help our Dragon player at all, unfortunately. Regidrago goes up. They do have that Gabite in hand, so that will allow them to find another dragon. My guess here is they're going to either find a piece of that, either that Dratini, assuming it wasn't prized, or they're going to go ahead and get that Dracloak. Again, Dracloak will let them start getting a little bit more consistency, drawing some more cards with Recon Directive. But while our player is doing that, getting back to what I was talking about with that Electivire. So if you've got Reversal Energy on it, Reversal Energy when you are behind and it's attached to an evolution Pokemon, it counts as 3 energies of any type. So at that point, when you're behind for 1 energy, you can do 50 damage to all of your opponent's Pokemon. Not only will that potentially KO some very weak basics, it can also be really just setting you up for a KO later on. It combos very well with that Raichu. Raichu for 2 energies is able to do 50 damage to everything that has damage counters on it. That does include your Pokemon, so it can be a double-edged sword. But, you're playing spread. You put 50 damage on everything with Electivire and then follow up with that Raichu. That can be enough to KO just about everything. Looks like with that Recon Directive, our player accidentally puts that card almost face up on the bottom, but corrects that and flips it back over. Energy going down on Gabite. Needs to get rid of at least one more card if they want to use Dragon's Horde on this Regidrago this turn. Do see an Ultra Ball, so that could be a good choice here to find another Pokemon, but they opt to not do that. Passes the turn, and our Lightning player does draw. Using Timer Ball, we'll see if this pays off for them. One downside of the Zapdos is it does have a 2 retreat cost. They get 1 head, so they do get 1 evolution Pokemon. Might go for that Electivire. Is the only other Pokemon that they've got currently in play that needs to evolve. Oh, and they do have this special art. Absolutely love that art. It's kind of unfortunate that Magmortar, which it combos with, is a fire Pokemon, so you can't actually use them together in GLC. But I kind of like that Pokemon has like a buddy relationship going on for the two of them. They're always hanging out, just always chilling, messing around, doing wacky stuff together. Gets that Tapu Koko put down onto the bench. The bench is now full for our Lightning player. That Tapu Koko, another way to be able to spread damage. Potentially we just put a double colorless energy on it, and then it can do 20 damage to everything. Also has free retreat, so it's an excellent pivot Pokemon. Looks like for a second our Lightning player was debating using the Guzma, but they opt to put that back into their hand. Guzma would be a way to get the Zapdos out of the active, but the question is, do they really want to do that? Looks like they don't. They are just using Sprint instead. Finding 4 more cards. Didn't see too much going on. They had the evolved form of their other Dynamotor Pokemon. I think I saw a Stormy Mountain, which they definitely don't want to put down here. Their bench is full while their opponent is Dragon. So far, they don't have too much going on. They are able to use that Dynamotor to get 1 energy in play on that Regieleki. Or actually, it looks like they haven't decided where they're putting it yet. So they might opt for that Electivire, again, assuming they've got a way to get the Zapdos out of the active. That would allow it to attack this turn if they're able to do that. Could be a good option. Right now, this Regidrago is not doing too much, though if our Dragon player does have Dragon Energy, they could attach this to the Regidrago and take a KO. Energy does go down on the Electivire, so it's now fully powered up. We'll see if there is a way to get the Zapdos out of the active. It looks like there's not, so just 10 damage going down on that Regidrago. Looks like Dragon draws Evolution Incense. Not super helpful for them here. Bite's the only thing they can really evolve right now since there is no Dragon-type Dragapult. At least not one that you can play in GLC. And they could always just use Dragon Claw to go get the Garchomp. So looks like they're likely playing the Evolution Instance as well as doing Dragon Call here, so getting that Dradagon. Then maybe we'll just opt to get the Garchomp. Does seem like their Dratini is prized, otherwise they almost certainly would have started setting it up by now. Always unfortunate to see that Dratini prized. That Dragonite just has such a powerful ability with that Fast Call. Getting a supporter that you need every single turn is just so strong. That Dragonite's pretty tanky too. It's got 160 HP, so it's not the easiest thing to KO for every deck. If you're not able to take it out quickly, then it becomes a real nightmare. Dragon player does not have the best looking hand. They've got their Rare Candy, Ultra Ball. I think that's Mysterious Treasure, and then an Aurora Energy. Aurora Energy will at least allow them to start powering up their Pokemon, but the rest of those cards are not doing them any favors. Probably just want to go ahead and use that Ultra Ball and get rid of them. Likely not going to need them this game. So those do go to the discard. May just opt to shuffle, might not even grab anything out of the deck. They do have Kyurem as an option. Deciding to bench that. Kyurem, very cool choice for our Dragon player. Anytime your opponent has a card with Colress in the name and the discard, it can attack for just 1 energy, and that attack, Trifrost, Does 110 damage to 3 targets of your choice. So again, if there's Colress Tenacity, Colress Experiment, or just plain Colress in the discard, then you can attack for one colorless energy over and over and just do 120 damage. You can just go bam, bam, bam. Very powerful against certain matchups. Not a great card in many other matchups. Is using that Recon Directive after drawing a few more cards with that Dragon's Horde. Hopefully our player found some better options here. We weren't able to see any of those choices. I think I'm seeing a fire energy going to the bottom of the deck. Again, our dragon players kind of hiding their hand from us, not letting us see what they potentially have going on. Down goes Guzma, grabbing that Electivire. Are they going to evolve into Garchomp this turn? Doesn't look like it. Oh my god, do they have their dragon energy? They could potentially use Berserk here if they do. They do. They've got dragon energy. They're going to be able to use Berserk. That 10 damage coming back to bite this lightning player. Berserk going to take a KO on this Electivire. That's 3 energies getting taken out of play. The Recycle energy does go back to the hand. Does have that Dynamotor to be able to get another energy back into play. Looking like our lightning player is debating what they want to go back up with. But that was a great play from Dragon. Takes out a very powerful threat. I was wondering if that 10 damage was going to come back into play. It's one of those things where lightning is obviously wanting to spread damage around, but is that 10 damage really helping you while it is potentially setting you up for a play like this? You saw that Drampa down, it was on the bench, so you knew it was a threat. Tapu Koko is the choice to go up with. Recycle energy going on that Regieleki. Ultimately using Sprint again, not liking any of those resources. Drawing 4 cards. Yeah, really none of those resources all that helpful here. Only option they might want to pick was Escape Rope, but probably not ready to play that just yet. Raihan being drawn. Another energy going to be able to go into play. We'll see where they decide to put that. Going to put it on the Regieleki. This Regieleki is going to be able to potentially KO this Drampa this turn. They do have Dynamotor to be able to put another energy in play. It will do 120 damage to the active, and then it'll be able to do some additional damage to some bench Pokemon. Super Rod going down, going to shuffle back in some of those resources. Raichu going back down. We'll see if the Electabuzz and the Electivire go in. They do. Wants all of its good spread ready to go later on in the game. So those options are now back in the deck. Does still need to get them back into play. I believe there's still plenty of options. Don't think they've used all of their various ball supporters, so there goes Dynamotor. Regieleki fully powered up. Again, Tapu Koko does just have free retreat, so could pivot into that Regieleki whenever they're ready to attack, which looks like they're getting ready to. It's going to be able to, again, KO this Drampa. And spreading damage to the Garchomp, wanting to start setting that Pokemon up. So 40 damage going down there. Still choosing where else, the Dracloak. So Dracloak now in threat of being KO'd by either Electivire or that Raichu. Up comes that Gabite. Probably going to see it evolve into Garchomp this turn. It will be protected for a turn with Sonic Slip. Such a powerful ability to buy you time in Dragon decks. Their electric player did forget to discard those energies, but they do go there eventually. Likely won't matter since it's going to probably get KO'd this turn. Will just come down to whether or not they've gotten energy. Go ahead and grab Dragonite out of the deck. Probably just thinning with that. Again, it does seem like Dratini is prized. If it's not, and likely just a mistake that they are not setting up the that evolution line. Wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to go ahead and grab that Dragonite if Dratini is not in play and they have it as an option. So that does pretty much confirm that has been in the prizes all game. In that recon directive, does find an energy, not the energy they need, but did have Arven. Arven would allow them to go get their professor's letter or some other way to find out energy, assuming those haven't already been discarded. Is opting for Arven. They also have Colress Tenacity. That's another way to be able to find an energy they need, though opting for Arven instead. Going to find a tool card, not a stadium card. You did not play your Colress Tenacity. So again, grabbing a tool card here and an item card. Looks like they're debating that Hisuian Heavy Ball. They might want to go get that Dratini. Might see them grab a Floatstone. Rescue Stretcher looking like potentially what they're choosing here as their item. So what is the tool they want? They do opt for Floatstone. See if these choices play off of them. We'll give them a way to pivot. So might put that either on their Kyurem or their Regidrago would be my guess of the two choices. They do have Aurora Energy in play, so that is why they didn't need to go for an energy. Drampa coming back down. Since again there is bench damage, Drampa is a great Pokemon in this matchup. Garchomp and Aura Energy in hand. That's going to allow them to power it up. That Spike Mouth goes to discard. Garchomp goes down. Sonic Slip is protecting it now until the Dragon player's next turn. Going to be able to take a KO with Dragon Blade. So Regieleki getting KO'd. Do have to discard a couple cards from the top of your deck with that. Lose the Level Ball and the Fire Energy. Not too bad here. Dragon will also take another prize, so it's going to be 4-4. Both players making good choices so far. Versus Seeker going down, choosing what supporter they want to get back. Looks like they're opting for that Guzma. Maybe they're going to stick that Kyurem in the active, but they're going to do that. Then they know their opponent has Floatstone. That was not played yet. So Guzma, not a good trap play. They could also just go ahead and KO that Dracloak. They could bring up their Zapdos with Guzma and then KO it with Zapdos. Oh, Speed Energy going down. That's a card that I miss in Standard when it rotated. Let you draw 2 cards when you play it on a Lightning Pokemon. We have us all a Hex Maniac. And then the Electro Power, which lets you do 30 more damage with your lightning attacks. Lightning doesn't have a lot of attackers down at the moment. None of their evolution attackers, that Raichu or that Electivire, have their basics in play. So they are opting to get the Kyurem in the active. Going to put some damage down on that with Zapdos. With the Electro-powered, don't believe they're doing quite enough to take a KO here. But I guess they wanted to play it because they're just going to go ahead and use Sprint. Draw 4 cards. I actually believe for Cycle Energy, I guess it just goes back to your hand when it's discarded when it's in play. It's not a card that I've read in a while, so I'm not super familiar with that one. But that might have been a card they actually had to grab back there. I'd be interested to look up to see what the ordering of that is, if that's the case, to see if they would draw 3 or 4 cards there. So they are able to use Dynamotor to be able to get to that Electabuzz and energy. It's kind of funny. Electabuzz is one of those Pokemon you might think is a little bit tankier, but because it is a basic and also using that kind of older art that's a reprint of the original Electabuzz from way back in the day that came out in Evolutions. It does only have 70 HP, so you can get it with Level Ball. But then Dust does put 110 damage on Kyurem. Floatstone goes down. Fortunately for Kyurem, it is now set up to be KO'd very easily by something like that Tapu Koko. Floatstone goes down, debating that Colress Tenacity. Going to be able to find a Stadium and a Special Energy. Unfortunately, they didn't have that special charge earlier, so they can't find their Dragon Energy. Not sure what they just put down, but they're going to have to reveal it. So it is Parallel City. Very good choice here. Be able to get rid of one of those benched Pokemon. Question is, what energy do they want to grab? What do they have left? So they're debating that Rainbow Energy. Rainbow Energy will give them lots of different options. They just decide to choose that. Unit Energy could be another choice that they want to grab here. So it looks like they are opting for the Parallel City and the Unit Energy. Parallel City, again, a very powerful card. You can play it facing two different ways. Usually what you're using it for is to limit your opponent's bench size. When you face I believe it's the blue side towards them, then they cannot have more than 3 Pokemon down on their bench. They already have more than that down, then they have to discard until they only have 3 remaining. So in this case, again, they'll have to discard one of those Pokemon on their bench, which our Lightning player wants all of those in play. They don't want to get rid of any of those. So yeah, Parallel City going down. Tapu Koko is the choice. All those other Pokemon, definitely stronger choices now. Getting rid of your pivot Pokemon is definitely the play. Uses the retreat from the Floatstone, goes up with Garchomp. Gonna be able to take another KO. So how the rest of this game goes is gonna depend on what resources our Lightning player has left. They've gone through a decent amount of their deck because of that sprint. So how easily can they find this Electivire? Look like they're opting to go up with the Zebstrika, so at the moment I'm guessing they don't just have what they need in hand. Do need to probably power it up with another Dynamotor. Teammates goes down. This is going to let them find more of the pieces they need. Going to be able to find that Electivire most likely. Counter Energy also being debated. Looks like it was Night Stretcher and Counter Energy. Counter Energy, since our Lightning player is behind, is going to be able to power up this Electivire. I believe they had shuffled that Electivire back into the deck, I thought, but maybe they discarded it with Sprint. That might be why they needed the Night Stretcher. Other is that they've got it in hand. Oh, no, so they did just want the Regieleki back. Probably then going to use Dynamotor onto the Regieleki. Oh no, putting counter energy on Regieleki. Okay, so there goes Dynamotor, gonna retreat. Here comes Regieleki, gonna take a KO on this Garchomp. Can also KO the Kyurem potentially if they want to as well. Using another sprint, discarded cards, and drawing 4. There's that Hisuian Heavy Ball. I'm not sure there's any basics in there. Oh no, I guess Tynamo was in there. So now they've got a new pivot Pokemon. Lightning just really playing very well. They seem to know their deck really well, know what resources they have, know what they can discard. Probably will see that Tynamo go down again to have a pivot Pokemon for next turn. Well, actually, looks like they opt not to do that. So Garchomp is going down. Do have to discard that counter energy since it's counting as lightning energy here. Just debating where else they want to put those damage counters. I think they opted for Dradagon and Drampa. So yeah, Dradagon was one of the choices. And yep, so was Drampa. So they're just trying to set up the board. They don't want to go ahead. They don't want to enable things like counter energy for their opponent. Very smart from our Lightning player. They know they can play it slower. They're playing the spread deck. They can take a KO at any time on that Kyurem, as well as that Dracoke. They just want to set up for a win on their next attack if they can. So soon Heavy Ball is what is drawn. That is not helpful. Again, that counter energy actually in hand for our Dragon player, but it's not helpful to them because they are even on prizes. If our Lightning player had decided to go ahead, then that would be able to allow our Dragon player to power something up like that Dradagon with just that one energy. Soon Heavy Ball is in hand, so could potentially get that Dratini now if they want to. Though at this point it might just be more of a liability since it is a Pokemon with very little HP. Rainbow Energy going down. Hex Maniac also limiting the abilities of our Lightning player. Oh, yeah, that's why they put it on the Dynamo. I forgot that Parallel City was still in play. So do grab that Dratini. Poor little Dratini's been trapped in the prizes this whole time, finally getting freed. Soon Heavy Ball getting shuffled into the prizes. Dragon still has a lot of attackers that they can use. Does go ahead and take out that Regieleki. And again, Hex Maniac is in play, so no Sprint, no Dynamotor this turn. Might make it a little bit tougher for our Lightning player to get this Electivire powered up, though they did immediately go up with it. Dynamo going down. So they got another pivot Pokemon now. Looks like they do have Rescue Stretcher. Gonna be able to get another Pokemon back. Looks like they're actually opting to shuffle some Pokemon back into the deck. So Regieleki, Zapdos, and that Electrike all going back in. Setting up for some future turns. Their deck is starting to look very small. You know, honestly, for them, it might be good that they can't sprint this turn. They're starting to be in danger of running out of resources. Boss's orders. So getting that Dradagon in play. Might just be hoping to stick it into the active to buy a little bit of time. And they don't get the paralysis from this first attack, just do 10 damage. Lance being drawn, not a helpful card at this point. Pretty much all your Dragon Pokemon are already in your discard or already in your hand or in play. Hand for our Dragon player not looking super strong. They are ahead on prizes, so again, that counter energy is not being super helpful anymore. Still opting to put it down on that Regidrago. Cloak's ability being used, Recon Directive, gonna let them look at 2 cards. Evo Soda and Teammates, neither one helpful here. Looks like they are opting for the Teammates and Evo Soda is going on the bottom. Teammates definitely the better choice here. Evo Soda pretty much completely useless at this point in the game. All your evolving you're likely gonna do has already been done. Teammates could still be relevant if your opponent doesn't just win with their next attack, which at the moment they're not set up to be able to do. None of their spread damage can do quite enough damage to KO 3 Pokemon. So Cynthia going down, going to get a hand refresh, going to shuffle those cards back in and draw 6. Dragon player agreeing that they do not have the strongest hand, so they're going to look for a new one. Our Lightning player still is in a position where they need to find a lot of different pieces. They only have 2 cards in hand. Next turn, they will be able to sprint, and for their sake, they are hoping to find some better options. With this Electabuzz in the active, they also cannot use Dynamotor to help power it up. Dragon does have a lot of energies in play, but none where they need it. Question is, do they have a way to get this Dradagon out of the active? don't believe there's any more dragons in the deck, so they might just be searching to see what resources they have with this nest ball. Looks like they are just opting to shuffle, and then I think they passed. Not sure what, or maybe they didn't. Their opponent might just be waiting to draw until their opponent has fully finished their turn. They do want to cut. Okay, no, they did not pass. I guess they were just answering some other question. So their player's just debating something, trying to make sure they're understanding what's going on. Okay, ultimately do pass. So that Cynthia not seeming like it did very many favors for our dragon player. They didn't have any other cards they wanted to play. Switch going down, and then Evo Soda gonna find that Electivire. Unless, again, they've got it in hand. Do they want double Dynamotor first? So I don't know if I saw the Electivire in the deck, so maybe it is the last card in hand. It's like Lightning, now they're debating what they want to do. They seemed confident of which Pokemon they wanted to evolve at first. You know, they do get the Electrike. They've got double Dynamotor now in play. Either they've got that Electivire in hand, or they're just going to hope that Zebstrika will find it for him. So there goes Dynamotor. And does look like Ampharos. And it's kind of interesting. You don't always see Lightning decks play Ampharos. Usually just stay into that Flaffy. Does find the Evolution Ensigns, gets that Electivire. Had a lot of options still left in the deck, so there was a good chance for them to still find that. They could have either just straight drawn into it or gotten that Evolution Incense. They were able to get the Evolution Incense. Still has one more Dynamotor from that Electrike. Can now retreat with that U-turn board. Gonna take 2 prizes this turn. Gonna take out that Dracloak and that Kyurem. Silent Lab, shutting off all basic Pokemon abilities. Gets rid of that Parallel City finally. Zapdos going down, and so is that Regieleki. Right, there we go. 50 damage going on all the Pokemon. Kyurem goes down. Dracloak goes down, and then 100 damage on that Drampa. 50 more on that Dradagon, and 50 more on that Regidrago. One more spread attack, and it is lights out for this Dragon player. They really need a way to get this Dradagon out of the active this turn. Problem is, all of their Pokemon have so much damage at this point. Someone like Zapdos can easily just come up and take a KO. Since they've got that U-turn board, even if their opponent had something like Field Blower, they could try to Field Blower that U-turn board away, but it will just go right back to the hand. So that means that their opponent has a free retreater pretty much no matter what they do. Very tough spot. They gotta somehow take out this Electivire while also having a way to not just be immediately KO'd by this Zapdos or that Regieleki. Got their Professor's Letter. Gonna go look for some energies here. There's a water and a fire still left in the deck. Can't grab that, teammates. Be an interesting letter. Are they going to opt for both those energies or just the one? There are only 2 options. So right now they are just looking at what other resources they have left. Now is when they wish they had that teammates, most likely. Not sure what cards they could grab that could save them from here. See if our Dragon player can find something to be able to piece together a way to stay alive. So our players, again, just talking a little bit about the board state here. Those 2 energies go to hand. Again, still not a very strong hand for our dragon player. Does just decide to boss out that Zapdos, maybe hoping to stick it for a turn. They're just asking what has the most retreat cost. Does opt for that Ampharos. And then just passes. I mean, at this does just have the float stone, retreats. GG. Good game for our Lightning player. Very well played. And that was our game. Both players gave it their all, but our Lightning player really showing how it's done. Clearly knows his deck and stayed aware of the resources he'd need to get the win in the end. Hope you enjoyed that game, and I'll see you in the next one.